Hello and welcome to Cracked Open, a podcast guiding you on your journey to becoming a vessel of unconditional love. This is your host, Beck Milonis, High Priestess, Channel, and Activator. Join me on this series as I share reflections, insights, and channel transmissions from my journey of walking the initiation path. Each episode is a unique transmission containing supportive frequencies to facilitate the deepest healing, activation, and reconnection with your soul. I invite you to open your mind and set the intention to receive this episode into your heart space. Let's go. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of Cracked Open, a podcast guiding you to becoming a vessel of unconditional love. Today, I'm jumping on to share some more of my process that I've been moving through as I move through this rebirth internally into my next phase, all aligning with the end of my Saturn return and my 30th birthday, which is tomorrow on the 19th of February. Huge new moon, as I spoke about in a previous episode, because I'm recording these and releasing them in a non-linear fashion when it feels good to release the episodes. 2 episodes ago was yesterday, actually, for me. So I'm recording these in my process of how things are arising for me. This might not even be relevant by the time I release this, but this is what I'm moving through, and I trust that it serves and that there is frequency behind this transmission for you to reclaim some stuff internally and to rebalance. So today is more about rebalancing. And the premises and the topics that I'm going to be discussing are very simple. And you've probably heard what I'm about to share before. It's about giving and receiving and coming into balance in your feminine and masculine energies. However, what I want to say is there's energetics behind this message today to really help you to ground and anchor that in on a cellular, deeper level. So there is a recalibration in the field taking place of the divine give and receive cycle. It's an infinity sign. So if you relate to imagery, if you bring into your mind the imagery of the infinity symbol, right? It's like, the infinity symbol. It looks like an 8 flipped on its side if you don't know what that looks like and you're not watching the video. But this is that cycle of infinity, which is giving and receiving. It is the feminine, it is the masculine, it is the yin, it is the yang, it is the everything, it is the nothing. And today specifically, I want to speak into giving and service and receiving, because receiving is also super important. But I feel like a lot of the focus that I've had over the past couple of months is opening myself up to allow me to receive deeper. And very recently, as in the past weeks, I've been clearing some distortions, some karmic stuff within my own field, within my maternal line, within my ancestral line, around feeling like I'm always over giving, right? Like feeling like I'm giving and giving and giving and not receiving. And so for me, the focus on shifting that imbalance up until recently has been more about, okay, I'm going to allow myself to receive, and I'm going to allow myself to receive in magical, mystical ways. And I want to share this dress that I'm wearing now because it's a beautiful story about, this lesson that I've been going on to receive more. A week or two ago, I was asking, God, show me how supported I am and how much I can receive. And I had been looking, this is a Camilla dress, right? So if you're Australian, Camilla's like, she's a designer label, and I'm not one for designer labels. It's not really my thing. I just love her prints. As you can see, it's really beautiful. If you're catching this on audio, you won't see it, but it's a beautiful, colorful printed dress. And I have a wedding coming up, and my mom and I were looking online to be like, maybe there's a Camilla dress that'll look good for this fiesta wedding, right? So bright colors, Mexican kind of theme. And I looked online, and all the dresses were just what she was asking for those dresses. I couldn't justify it at this time in my life. I'm not really into spending, 800 plus on a dress. There has been times in my life when that has been a priority and I have wanted nice things, but at the moment I'm like, yeah, there's other things I could be spending that money on. So I looked and I was like, yeah, like it's a bit out of what I'm willing to spend on a dress right now, but let's go to the shop in the city and at Bondi, and let's see what's available. I had no attachment at all. So we rock up to the shop in Bondi, and I just previously asked, God, show me how supported I am, how much I can receive, and walked into the shop. And this was the first dress that I saw. It was hanging on a rack And I'd seen that it had already been like, I was already pulled to this dress. I was like, I want, this is the exact print, this is the style, it's everything that I wanted. And without even thinking about the price, I looked at the label and I was like, oh shit, it's been discounted by like $400 already, or $300, something like that. Went to try the dress on and I was like, yes, this is it. I love it. It's beautiful. And I was still like, do I really want to spend this much for a dress? And as I went to go ring it up, I realized they were actually having a 40% discount on that particular. There was one rack and it was on this rack and it was heavily discounted. So I got this dress at a fraction of the cost of what I would have gotten at. And that seems really like insignificant, right? It's like, so what? You got a dress for cheaper. But for me, it's a symbol of how we are always receiving and we're always supported in crazy, wild ways. And it's not always like in terms of, it's an obvious you're receiving this, or someone's paying you, or someone's giving you something. The way that we receive abundance can be in various forms. So paying less for something that we thought we were going to pay a lot more for, right? Having a gift be given to us, right? And so then after I bought this gift, I had this friend that reached out and he was like, I just want to give you money because I saw the dress and I just feel like I want to give you some money towards it. And it was just the sweetest thing, right? And in the past, I've had resistance to just receiving like that for the sake of receiving. And so I was like, okay, fuck it, cool. And then realized, oh my God, it's another way that I'm just being supported right now, and allowed myself to receive. So, as I was saying, it might seem like an insignificant story, but I wanted to share it. And that's the significance of why I'm wearing this dress today, because it's evidence that we're always receiving, right? We're always supported, even if we're not focusing on it. But if we ask, we will always receive. However, the inverse that I'm being shown lately is my resistance around giving, right? My service, and how this is needing to come into balance as I'm balancing out and calling on more divine masculine energy within myself. And I've been doing this through really heavily connecting to Jesus lately. I've spoken about this on the previous episode. Not the previous episode, the one before that, and one in the future, which I'll be dropping. There's a couple in the future, which I'll be dropping, speaking about this, because it's been such a big part of my journey lately to connect to this divine masculine service energy. And I kind of realized today in meditation, I've been so heavily focused on let me receive, let me receive, let me receive, without recognizing where I'm not giving unconditionally, right? Where I am giving with the expectation of receiving something back, where I am entering into agreements or connections with people looking for what can I take? What can I receive in this, rather than what can I give, right? Because here is the truth: the give and receive cycle is a law of the universe. You will always receive what you give out, right? So it's like, I speak about this on a future episode about money energetics, and I don't really want to get into the money energetics today, because I kind of speak about that more from an angle of receiving. But when I say you give what you receive, sorry, you receive what you give, it's almost like every time someone comes into my field where I'm expected to serve, right, in some way. And so I want to talk about, I have a lot of people reach out to me for consults, which are free, or they reach out to me in my DMs, or they want support in some way. And in the past, I would have resentment or bitterness about this, being like, here is another person that just wants to take from me, right? And I know that this person has no intention of joining my container or paying me money. And I feel like I'm just wasting my energy and I'm draining my life force. And there is a degree to which that is true. And you need to be discerning about where you're sharing your energy and where you're sharing your life force, and not overgiving, right? So this is another level up from when you've already healed the stuff around overgiving, because that for me was a really big thing. I would really self-abandon and self-sacrifice and not have boundaries, right? But once you've dealt with that and you've addressed that within yourself, and you're able to take care of yourself and discern, hey, I'm not in a place to give right now. Hey, I need space. Hey, this person is literally just a fucking negative drain on my energy, and there's no exchange even to be had here, right? So there's a bit of work that you need to do before you reach this next stage. But the next stage for me is acknowledging that in every single time I'm connecting with someone and serving from a pure place of, how can I help this person? How can I give unconditionally without the expectation of them turning into a client, or them, with men, it's always been like, I'm going to give all my love and my wisdom and I help them in some way with the expectation that they will love me, right? And this is an ancestral thing that I've been clearing, particularly my mother line. My mom has a lot of wounding around I give to everyone and they don't give back, or I'm over giving and no one gives back. And there's this expectation that people are just going to take from you, right? The truth is, in those exchanges that I'm having with people, whether they're for free or they're a consult or they're just someone in my DMs that I'm like exchanging with, every time I'm even on a session with a client that's paid me, I am receiving in every single one of those interactions, right? What I am giving to that person, the healing, the advice, the recalibrating the codes, whatever it is, I'm also receiving from that person in that moment through my sharing with them, right? Because that person is me. We are not separate. So when I'm giving them advice or when I'm helping them to see something, it always, always, always aligns with something that I'm going through at the moment, right? So I am receiving from every one of my clients, from every one of those people that reach out to me. Granted, I've discerned that they're not just here to completely suck out my life force and drain me, right? So when that discernment piece is in place, there is something to be received, and it's our attachment to what we're receiving or how we're receiving that. Or sometimes it's not even that person that you're serving who is going to be the one to give back to you, right? So for instance, my friend that gave me money for this dress, I didn't serve him in any way recently, to warrant that giving, but I've been serving a lot from a place of I'm just doing this to serve. So it's like sometimes the people that you receive from are not going to be the people that you give to immediately, or sometimes it'll be later in the future, or sometimes, like in my case, we have some karmic debt or that person you have taken from in the past, right? So I've been really, really clearing this template within me of being in the service to self path in the past. So in past incarnations, I took and I took and I took, and I was entitled and I took from people and I drained their life force. And so many, many, many incarnations after that, the shift happened and I came back and I was like, okay, I'm going to recalibrate myself to service to others. I've been paying that back, right? But there's been part of my soul which is held on to this resentment around serving, because in the previous incarnations where I gave and I gave and I gave and I received nothing, or I gave and I gave and I gave humanity and they turned their back on me, gave to humanity, or I served purely just because I wanted to help and I ended up burnt at the stake, or whatever that is, I was carrying that resentment into this lifetime, right? Of the times that I gave and I didn't receive back, or I gave and people took. So I was expecting in every one of these calls that I do with people, or messages from people, or consults, or people that come into my life, that they were just coming to take from me. And because I assumed that that's what was happening, people were coming to take from me, but also I was entering into those connections with the expectation of what can I receive from this person? What can I take from them? So because I was entering in of like, are you going to pay me? Are you going to be a client? Are you going to give to me in some way? What am I going to get out of this? Right? What exchange am I going to get out of this? With that expectation, that was being mirrored back to me. So I was receiving people into my field who would take and not give. I was receiving imbalanced connections and imbalanced energies in what I was allowing to show up in my life, right? So that's the first part. It's like if you're expecting people to take from you, you need to look at, where am I taking? Where am I entering this exchange in an energy of there is an expectation that I will receive in some way from this person directly? That's the first part. The second part is acknowledging that you will always receive, maybe not from that person, but maybe from someone else. But usually, when you're serving and you're giving and you're healing and helping someone to heal and clear stuff, it's because there's alignment there and there's resonance, and that person is going through similar things. And we're divinely brought together at certain points on our journey to in you helping that person, you're receiving as well. Everything that you heal in someone else is something that you're healing within yourself. So it's that recognition of, even if it's not obvious at the time, you are always receiving, right? So if you enter into every exchange, every connection, every consult call, every relationship with the knowledge that on some level you are receiving, and that's on a higher level, like that person is you anyway, they're just a mirror to you, they're a fractal of you. So what you're giving to them, you're receiving back, right? It's like you can't not give and not receive. You can't give and not receive. It's inevitable. It's divinely guided. It's perfect. It's whole. It's complete. It's a law, right? So we can't enter into service with an expectation. And also, please know that, like I was for so many lifetimes until I've recently, very recently, as in this morning, I'm moving through shifting this karma. The reason why I haven't been receiving and the reason why I felt burnt and like people are taking from me and this resentment around service was because for many incarnations, I was actually paying it forward. I was paying back what I had taken, right? And I didn't understand that on a conscious level. And I felt victimized by it because I was like, but I'm giving in this lifetime. I don't understand why right now I'm showing up and I'm giving fucking everything to my mission. I'm showing up every day and I'm saying, how can I serve? And obviously, as we said, there was already a thread that I've acknowledged of, was I really purely unconditionally giving, or was there an expectation? Or was there a wounding that someone was going to take from me, right? But I was giving and giving and giving and getting frustrated that my life and what I was receiving didn't seem to balance out, that it wasn't being shown to me immediately that I was receiving back. And that was because I was still tied into this karmic cycle of having to give back. And until I acknowledged, oh shit, I am now having to give unconditionally because of, and in those past lifetimes, literally be victimized or hurt or whatever it is, not received because of what I've done. I've had to like rebalance some karma that I've caused by giving and having no acknowledgement, right? Giving back everything that I've taken, having to be selfless, all of that stuff to recondition me. There was all of that playing out behind the scenes for me. Of every time someone booked a session or every time someone reached out to me, I would feel this resentment deep in me of like, well, what are you going to do for me? Here's another person that just wants to take from me. Here's another person that is draining my life force. And I'm so fucking tired of giving and giving, giving and not getting back. Right. So I had to acknowledge that actually I was paying my dues in a way, like I was recalibrating myself to service. And once I acknowledged that in the field, I could be like, oh shit, like I am just paying it forward. I'm just doing what I did to others, or what I took from others, I'm giving back now, right? And so we need to serve from a place that truly is unconditional. And it's unconditional when we know that we are always receiving in everything, even if it's not what you expect or how you appear it to be, there's always something that is happening in every exchange with every person, where it's a mirror to something within you, or whether, like I said, you're healing something internally and then they are showing up with a similar wounds. And so it's allowing you to work on your stuff. And I had a friend once and she said to me, like, every opportunity and every client that comes to me, I'm so fucking grateful for, because I acknowledge that every healing that I get to do for them is a blessing and a gift, because it's something that I'm working on in myself. And to me, this is how I heal, right? How I engage in healing and how the healing happens for me and my clients is that I'm not healing them. I'm shining light on the stuff within me that has a similar wounding or a similar template or a similar whatever it is, thread of something, the similarity. And in healing myself in that process together, like I'm doing the work on myself and they get to go along that journey doing the work for themselves. So it's an opportunity for me to heal every time someone comes into my vortex desiring assistance or healing. It's an opportunity for me to heal. Every time you give, it's an opportunity for someone else to receive and for you to receive as well through the act of giving, because it's always going to be brought into balance. So the invitation is to look at, where do you have expectations around giving? Where are you giving, expecting people to take from you? Where are you approaching things where you think you're coming in this energy of service or unconditional giving, but it's conditional? Like, I'm only giving you love and affection and attention with the expectation that you'll give it back to me, right? And then retracting that love or retracting that attention or retracting that time and effort and devotion when someone is not giving it to you in the way that you desire it to be, right? So for me, I've always seen myself giving and over giving to men. Again, this is because of a template in my ancestral line that I've recognized today, um, desiring that attention and affection back, desiring to be seen and validated. And then when they have turned around and been like, I don't, or like it's been neutralized in terms of what I was expecting to get out of that situation, like love or affection or whatever it was, isn't going that way. And then I very quickly pulled back my love and said, like, no, you can't have it. That's not unconditional, right? If I was truly unconditional and also unconditionally loving of myself, to be able to set boundaries and know and discern whether someone's taking the piss, again, it's like really important to get this piece in place. If you're like me and you're a people pleaser and you tend to overgive, right? So also part of the reason why I've had issues with giving in the past is because I overgave. And so when I then decided to love myself and stop self-abandoning and self-sacrificing and overgiving, I flipped too hard the other way, where I was like, I'm going to be so precious of my time and energy and discerning that I will give to no one unless I know that they're going to give me something back, which is not really unconditional, right? So I thought at the time, oh, it's self-love and it's having strong boundaries, and I need to, and it was important for me to learn boundaries and to not self-sacrifice and martyr myself and overgive. So it's really important to go through that lesson, or that period first, right? If you're an overgiver, you need to do that work first before you can then come to a place of then healing the masculine within that, which is the service, right? To be able to give purely from service because it feels fucking good, right? And there is this core frequency at the pinnacle of service, which is it feels really good to give. Like the goal, and this is what most spiritual teachers that are enlightened or ascended masters, Jesus, for instance, Buddha, whoever it is, they understand this premise within them. And it seems so basic, and you've probably heard it a million fucking times: giving freely, giving what you desire to have. So when you desire love, giving love unconditionally. When you desire to be rich, giving abundantly. When you desire um, support, giving support unconditionally, because there's this recognition of whatever you give out, you will receive, right? So if you're giving again from the place of taking, if you're giving with the anticipation that you're going to receive, or you're assuming that people are going to overtake from you, then that's what you're going to see showing up. So it's changing your relationship to service and giving. And this is something that I'm still integrating. So I'm here to say, although every single day I show up and I ask God, how can I serve? Sometimes still in my relations with people, right? So when it comes to things like serving unconditionally, where I'm not directly impacting people. So for instance, this podcast is an act of service and devotion to my art. I'm very good now at showing up in devotion of my art and devotion to, I feel like I need to run this masterclass, or I feel like I need to run this podcast or do whatever it is, share my art in this way. And that's a pure act of service. I've fucking nailed that. I've got that down to be not conditional in how I'm doing that. And I'm doing that from a pure place of joy and enjoyment. However, the part which I'm now learning to integrate is actually in my relationships to people one-on-one. So in connection and exchange with people one-to-one, I find it really easy to serve the masses, which is kind of ironic, because it's like, why, how can you serve the masses and not serve an individual person, right? And I've had this resistance to one-to-one containers with people because it feels like in those containers I overgive, right? And it's weird. I don't know what the deal is with that. So right now, what I'm healing within myself is that connection between people, like intimate connections. Because I suppose when it's a group, and this is me speaking my process through aloud now, when it's a group, when it's the masses, it's removed from that individual one-to-one connection where there are deeper wounds, I suppose, or where there's a reflection back. Like when I'm putting something out there to the world, 1212, when I looked up, it doesn't matter how I don't know how people are receiving it, right? Because I'm not looking at every single person's reaction to me. But when I'm in a intimate container with someone, when I'm exchanging messages with someone, when I am like doing a healing with someone or a consultation call, then it feels more personal, right? Then it feels more like this is a very even exchange of give and take. And what can I take and what can you receive? And what can I give and what can I receive? Is what I wanted to say there. Right. So for some reason, there's been an imbalance in how I serve and how I show up. And although I've been devoted to my mission, I've been so in service to God in so many ways when it comes to actually unity consciousness, which is connection, which is how can I serve in moments where it's not even me with my gifts, like for instance, charity, or buying a friend a coffee, or all of that stuff. Guys, I want to be completely transparent and saying up until the past kind of couple years, I found it really hard to even like pay for someone's lunch, right? Like I was very selfish and entitled, and I refused to pay for someone's lunch. Like I refused to. I was like, why should I? I don't want to. And I've been stingy like that in the past, and I'm owning that. And it's something that I've been healing. Of it actually feels good sometimes to just fucking buy someone a gift or pay for someone, right? And it's because I had resentment about feeling like I did so much for others and they didn't do anything for me. Or why should I? And this again was a template from my maternal line, and it's wounding in that family of probably towards the masculine, like giving, 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 and the man was like nowhere to be seen. I don't know what it is. Like there's lots moving in the field with that for me at the moment. So just trusting that that clears and I don't need to know what it is. But I've seen this like lack of acknowledgement when I give, reflected in my family line of like, I've done so much for you and you've fucking done nothing for me, right? Or I've broken my back working for you or cleaning for you or taking care of you or whatever it is. And I'm so unseen. I'm so unacknowledged, right? And so we need to address the parts of us that feel really fucking unacknowledged in our giving. Because if giving is coming from a place that's truly unconditional, we're not going to be acknowledged most of the time. Sometimes we will, right? And it feels fucking great when we are acknowledged. But if we're expecting that person to acknowledge us or expecting them to love us because of what we're giving, then it's not unconditional. And to me, the Divine Mother, the pure frequency of the Divine Mother is unconditional nurturing and love. And as Divine Father, it's unconditional service and support, right? So if we're expecting to be receiving a pat on the back every time we do something that is service for us, for instance, like I have spoken about, I think on a previous episode, how it makes me feel really good when people reach out to me and say, thank you for that transmission or thank you for whatever. And it was what I needed to hear. And it made me feel really fucking good. And one of my friends of mine said, actually, that's still attachment because you're attaching to the validation that you're getting from when you've served. And can you serve from a place of just showing up and serving because you want to fucking serve and it feels good to serve because that's your way of being, because you are embodying the divine who doesn't fucking expect us to acknowledge him, right? I'm talking about the divine Father, God, does not expect us to acknowledge all the things that he did. And again, I'm going to talk about Jesus, and you guys are going to be like, wow, she's like really, she's going Christian. um, and as I've been like reflecting on his teachings and everything that he did, there were so many times when he was like, I don't want you to tell anyone about this. I don't want to receive glory for what I'm doing. That's humility and humbleness, right? Of like, I'm doing this purely because it feels good for me to do this and because I'm directed and guided to do this, because I can do this and I don't expect a pat on the fucking back. I don't expect people to follow me or like me or choose me or whatever it is, pedestal me because of what I'm giving, right? And in so many ways in my journey, I've seen that showing up of like, I'm going to share and give out these messages and do free healings and whatever it is with the expectation that someone's going to say thank you to me and it's going to feel good for me, or I'll be acknowledged, or someone will tell me I'm powerful or magical or whatever it is. And that's still attachment, right? So this is the process that I have been moving through lately. And I'm making a commitment to myself and to God to show up and serve from a place of unconditional love. And unconditional is unconditional. There are no conditions on that, right? How can I interact with people from a place of unconditional love? How can I interact with the people in my life, those close to me, from a place of unconditional love? I saw myself getting really resentful. I'm still staying at my parents, still here. I'm going to go back to Bali in like a month. So it's pretty not less than a month, but I am going home. But I felt like because my mom has issues with her body, she hasn't been able to clean and cook and do things because she's unwell. And because I felt kind of like maybe my dad's getting old, his health isn't 100% and he's pretty exhausted from having to do all the things since my mom hasn't been able to. So I've been really trying to step up and do stuff around the house a lot more. And also because I'm living here rent free and I'm receiving so fucking much. So it's like, what can I do to try and help and brighten their day? What can I clean? Can I cook? Can I offer my mom some joy and my presence, whatever it is? And for the first couple of months, it was great. And I was like, it felt really good for me to just do those things for them. And I was acknowledging I'm here for free. And, I'm receiving so much in being here, so much support, so much love, so much connection. But recently, like there was this week last week where I cleaned the whole house. I fucking scrubbed it down. I'd made dinner like 3 or 4 nights in a row. And I started to feel really fucking unacknowledged. I had this argument with my mom a week prior where she was like, if you're coming back to stay with us in July, we need you to step up. And something in me was like, I need to step up. Like, have you fucking seen what I've been doing? Have you seen how I've been contributing? And I felt really unacknowledged, right? I felt really pissed off because I was like, you don't even fucking know. Like, you're not even acknowledging the effort that I'm putting into, right? The effort I'm putting into being here and trying. And that had been bubbling up in me. So there were these consecutive, I think it was a week or two where I've been doing all this stuff. And I was like, right, I'm going to step up. I'm going to help more, doing it all and feeling like no one was fucking acknowledging me. And there was this one night, 3 nights ago, where I was chopping the vegetables for dinner and I was pissed. I wanted to fucking throw the thing across the room because I'd asked my mom, can you please just help me out tonight by washing some vegetables? That's all I ask. And she didn't do it because her hand was hurting. And instead of being like, her hand is hurting, this is an opportunity for me to serve, my wounding, that feeling of being unacknowledged started bubbling up in me, and I got really pissed off. And it took my dad coming in and being like, how can I help? Do you need help? Can I support you in some way? And I just broke down and I started crying and I gave him a hug. And I was like, I've just been feeling really unacknowledged. And I've been feeling like there's been a lot asked for me and I'm not being acknowledged, right? But the truth was, that was my little girl feeling unacknowledged. It wasn't the truth of the matter, which is that I was doing those things unconditionally because I wanted to do them. And the desire to do them was coming from a place of service and not from wanting validation. But because part of me wasn't receiving that validation, she felt really fucking unseen and pissed off and frustrated. She just needed to be seen and acknowledged in that moment, right? But we cannot approach service from this place of expecting acknowledgement or getting attached to someone telling you you changed their life or acknowledging what you do, because then it's not pure service, right? And that's simple. That's like in the relationships in your life. That is in the relationships with your clients. I've had this relationship showing up with my housemate last year, and we had a lot of arguments about this because her way of showing love is through service. And until recently, like acts of service, doing really nice things for people. We had this big argument because she was saying, I do so much for you that you don't even acknowledge. I bought the washing machine. I make things nice around the house. Every time I'm getting something for myself, I see if you want that. And I just feel really fucking unacknowledged. And to me, I was like, but that's not my way of relating to people. That's not my love language. To me, my love language is presence. It's my attention. It's my affection. I'm very affectionate. I like, cuddling and talking to people and brightening their day that way, or giving them my presence and my attention, which I felt I was giving to her. But there was a miscommunication in what she was expecting when she was doing all this stuff. She expects people to be able to give in the way that she does. She expects people to be able to think and be thoughtful in the way that she does. And she's so fucking thoughtful. I've never met a human who's more selfless and thoughtful as she is, and how she's giving consistently. But for me, that was not something that I was wired, or how I was wired to think or be. And so I couldn't understand that. And I was like, you're expecting me to do something or be something that I'm not, right? And it brought up some stuff for me. And I had to look at, okay, what is my love language? How can I contribute? Where am I not contributing because I'm being selfish, or I'm not even thinking about anyone but myself in this moment? Where is my entitlement, or all the things that she's saying to me? Where are they true? Where am I taking and taking and taking and not giving? So I looked at all of that. I acknowledged I have been giving in my own way, but maybe I can step up and do some more, right? And as I'm moving through this next iteration, I'm realizing that it is time for me to step up into more unconditional service and love in ways where I go out of my way for people. It's not natural for me, guys. In this human incarnation, maybe at a soul level, it is natural for me. But in this human identity level, it has not been natural for me to do nice things for other people in terms of acts of service. That is not how I show love, right? I don't do things. I don't put energy and time into doing nice things for people from a thoughtful place. Like I said, the way that I show love is through humor, through affection, through attention, through quality time, devotion to those that I love. But it's never been through doing shit for people, right? My sister is another really great example of her. She's a Capricorn as well, so very practical. Her act of love, and her love language is service, doing nice things, being thoughtful, right? Checking on mom. Have you eaten? Have you that? And this is something that I desire to embody more of. And while it's not my love language, it is something that I am working to do more, right? To think less about myself all the time. Or if I'm going down to the shop to get a coffee, hey, do you want a coffee? Hey, can I pay for that? Hey, can I clean the house because it's going to help you? Not because I want to do it, but because it feels good knowing that I'm helping or contributing in some way. And it's just a nice, thoughtful thing to do, right? So I'm working on that. It doesn't come naturally to me to give in this way. But that's from an identity level. At a core soul level, it is natural for me to serve in this way because at a core soul level, I've chosen the path of service to others, right? And like I said, maybe part of the reason why it hasn't felt natural is because I'm still coming off this service to self karmic wheel, which I've created for myself in the past of being selfish, of serving myself in many, many, many incarnations, using my power to enslave others, to gain things, right? So that's the imbalance that I'm now restoring. Kind of gone on a bit of a rant. That's some of the stuff that I'm moving through in my life right now. And, I'm saying all of this as a commitment to myself and to call myself out. So I have accountability to, I am committing to serving more unconditionally, not only to people who sign up for me for a consultation or a message or whatever the fucking session, whatever that is, not in the way that I'm showing up in my work, but as I'm showing up as a human being. Because so much of the service that we're here to do isn't the offerings that we have or the channeling sessions or the fucking healing sessions or the people reaching out to you in your DMs. It's actually in your day-to-day life, right? And this is something that Jesus embodies so beautifully, who he was being every single fucking day, the Buddha, these enlightened ascended masters. They give purely all the time. It's like hardwired into their being to just give, to just serve, to just be nice people, right? I feel like this is at the core of what Christianity is meant to be. People who are giving and serving and loving and doing God's work in this way, right? So you don't have to have a healing business or be a fucking spiritual teacher to be able to give and serve with your light. It's like, how can I brighten someone's day just because it feels fucking good to do so? Because it's the right thing to do, right? And so while I've mastered that in some aspects of my life, there's certainly some where I have more space to be a kinder human, to be more loving, to think a little bit less about myself and be a bit less selfish in how I'm showing up in every day. And knowing that there is a part of me that purely gets pleasure out of serving. And can I reach that energy within where it genuinely feels good to serve, right? That's what I'm working towards. I'm excited to see as that all integrates. And it truly is a sacred union, another level of sacred union within ourselves, right? It's mastering and embodying that divine masculine service piece of just desiring to serve. It's also devotion from the feminine aspect. So the answer to service in the feminine quality is devotion. Can I devote myself to others, to my path, to my mission? Can I give love unconditionally without expecting it to be received back from that person? Am I okay to say to someone, I love you, without expecting them to say it back? Right? Can I give freely of my time and my energy and my resources? Granted, I am making sure that I'm taking care of myself and that I have a full cup to give from, right? Because a lot of the reason sometimes that people don't want to give is that they feel really burnt and they don't have the energy or capacity to give because they're not allowing themselves to receive, right? Now I'm kind of going back over topics I've already touched on. That is my message for today. If you are looking to clear some of these karmic imbalances in yourself, in your family line, in your ancestral line, I invite you to check out the Modern Mystery School Rebirth. It feels really weird plugging myself now at the end of this episode after talking about unconditionally serving this whole time. But I do know that in that container, there's pure service because it's the stuff that we're working on together is very mirrored in that way. Like I'm going on that journey with you guys, right? So the stuff that you're working on, I'm working on. The stuff that you're working on, there'll be other people in the container that are working on. And it's this beautiful flow of give and receiving. And the stuff that you're clearing for yourself in that container ripples out and it touches generations, right? You're clearing your whole fucking ancestral line. You are anchoring those codes into the earth so future generations can walk on that earth and not have the same coding, right? Not have the same conditioning. So that's what that is. The link will be in the comments. We are enrolling every term, which is every month. There'll be a new intake. So check that out. It is for high level. It's a high level modern mastery and mystery school. check it out. And that is where I want to end today's episode. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to another episode of Cracked Open. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend if this episode has served you in any way. For more information about the work that I do or to get in touch with me, read the show notes or head to beckmylonis.com. Until next time, beautiful soul.